Okay, thank you very much. This is our second day of budget hearings, and again, I want to thank my CAFO, TJ Plant, and the whole financial team, Lindsay Melanie, the whole financial team, for their great work and award-winning finance department, and through our stable and strong leadership, we've been able to continue to weather this storm, this COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, and will continue to be strategic, efficient, effective, and compassionate in the way that we govern. I'd also like to give a shout out from cabinet heads down to rank and file, especially the ones that have been with me since day one of this COVID-19, where they're doing important back office stuff. It's deeply appreciated, your work and your family's support too. With that, I'll turn it over to TJ, some brief opening comments. I know we need to get the law department in and out of here as quickly as possible. They're setting up another DOJ meeting we have to do too. TJ?
Thanks, Mayor. So yeah, I think as everybody's aware, we're dealing with a $14 to $15 million budget deficit for fiscal 22. House Ways and Means will be coming out a little later this month. That'll give us a good indication on where we're going to end up with state aid. The variable to all this during the pandemic is incoming money that is going to be one time to help address the pandemic that we will need to be strategic with. But this is an opportunity for the department heads to present to the mayor the kind of their basic needs. If there are additions in their budget that they need, it's time to kind of raise and ask for those. And then there's always time after this process of the hearing to continue refining the budget as we go through, as we identify further needs or different things that are happening that just create whether a need for permission, positions, or a need for professional services. This is the start of the process, certainly not the end of the process. So this is a good opportunity, I guess, Ed, as we'll take you out of turn for you to kind of present.
Yeah, and I'd like to say too to the law department, City Solicitor Cool, and the rest of the team, you play a very pivotal role in almost everything and anything we do here in the city, whether it's going over legal stuff on the COVID-19, whether it's pertaining to the procurement contracts cap we have to do, whether it's licensing, release your days, whether it's lawsuits or legal issues we have to deal with Lisa, DOJ, other things. I can go on and on with everybody. So, you're always important to me in the city and the residents business community because you cross the T's and dot the I's for me. So, Solicitor Pakula.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to say that everybody in the law department is working very hard, and we've got some vacancies that we're trying to deal with, and we're going to have more coming up because of retirements, which has been a tough thing to handle because Western New England has really cut back on the number of their graduates, and residency limits the pool as we try to get lawyers to come on board. But we have some good people, and we're always looking for more. But those have been sort of the points from a personnel situation. We've got we've lost some key people, trying to fill them. They're experienced people, and we're going to be losing some staff that we're trying to deal with. You had three questions that I wanted to touch on. One had to do with pending cases that might bring in some revenue.
Yeah.
The only one there, of course, is the opioid litigation.
Yeah.
That we are in the process of discovery. As you know, we have outside lawyers that are doing that are going to be working on a contingency fee basis. There's no cost associated with that. But the cost to the city has been, a lot of departments have been tied up with gathering data in response to the defendant's requests for records. And that has taken up a lot of time. But that process is ongoing. I think technically there is a trial date for for the fall, but I don't know whether that'll go on that. Springfield, of course, is sort of a one of the lead parties going forward. What happens in our case is going to have a lot to do with what happened to the other. But of course, we wouldn't see any money unless there'd be some sort of settlement, which is possible. There have been discussions about it, but you know, if we win at trial, there'd be an appeal, and so that would go on. But that could be significant money down the road.
May I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Mayor, just today, Lindsay was appointed by the Mass Municipal Association to serve on a state commission on how to expend opioid dollars for her work on Eddie's case. So we're pretty excited to have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Mary Lou Sutters, right, the commissioner or the executive of HHS. So we have a seat at the table. They called us specifically for our input. So
well, what's going on there is they want us to join in the settlement because see, we specifically are separate. You know, the attorney general's got their own thing going on, and the legislature is going to control that fund. But our opioid litigation is done by our own lawyers, and so that's a reach out because they want a kumbaya to get together. So I'm going to set up a meeting for you to talk with our lawyers so that you get the talking points you need on your new committee.
It's just, Eddie, Solicitor Pakula brings up an important point. If you look back to the tobacco lawsuits that came years and years ago, whether it's state or the AG or feds, what would happen is not much would trickle down to the city. We decided, Ed and I decided, we had a strong case to go on our own. So when a decision is rendered and an amount is put forward, we get it, the city of Springfield gets it, in which we can utilize in a proactive way, health and human services, other aspects on it. So it's good to be on there, Lindsay, on it, but Eddie will brief on. So we're going on our own now. If the state or the AG, they win the case, you know, maybe we see some of that money, I don't know, but we don't want to be left in the lurch. We feel we have a case. I think one of the few that are going on, Eddie, am I correct?
Yeah, there's our we're working with 13 other communities, including Worcester, which is their largest. Boston is on their own, but not with our lawyers, a separate lawyer, and some smaller communities. But everyone's jockeying here in terms of what their role should be, and the Attorney General. They're trying to get everybody on the same page, but we don't want to give up because the only reason we got a seat at the table is because we are on our own.
Right.
And the same page will not dictate the same amount of money once this is a settlement comes forward. If it's coming to the conduit of the state or the AG, much different when it comes directly to us, Springfield.
Correct. As I said, we're trying to deal with our vacancies. We've lost some lawyers that we're trying to fill at an experience level. Melvin's coming up for retirement. Two of our key staff people, one paralegal, Stephanie, is going to be leaving in June or July. And the other, Trish, will be leaving in November. So we'll have some big shoes to fill, and we'll continue to work on that. On the COVID side, from the litigation standpoint, as you know, the courts have been, for the most part, shut down. I've only had one trial during that was the Savage residency case. I have one scheduled for August and another one for September, which are at the Eastfield Mall. So we'll see what that's like. I've got to get out there and see what those courtrooms are going to be like. They're supposedly going to open next Monday, 12th. So I will scope those out. But, we've been having all of our hearings by Zoom. And it's, the technology we've got is very helpful. I understand that we're going to be getting some more technology for over on Columbus Avenue and upstairs on the third floor, one of these boards for each of those offices. And we could use some help with laptops because the ones we have are, I think that they're ones the students rejected.
And didn't take care of.
We'll, we can help you with that.
Okay.
Now, so again, you're authorized to move forward, and to people that are leaving retirement, we appreciate all your efforts and obviously wish you the best. So we need your authorization to fill those, and if there's any adjustments after we may speak to TJ and I on that. I mean, this is corporate counsel. You're talking about nearly a $750 million budget. So in my eyes, it's corporate counsel, and we have to try to treat it that way there too. You answered those questions, Eddie. I know we put a new administrative assistant to help out with the BWC. Has that worked out?
Yes, very well. I'll tell you, Marta is a wonderful addition to the staff. And Steve Roach, actually his 6-month review is coming up. I need to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
But that's a whole new world for us.
Yeah. Any questions, TJ? Comments?
No, I guess the only question that we kind of had was trying to influence our ability in the lobbying area. I don't know if you could talk about, I know with Steve and others that have, Billy and myself, we all have, experience at the State House. But I was going to talk about common strategies for that.
Steve's very well suited. He's at the State House chops.
Right. For the first time, really, we have a person in the law department who has significant experience on Beacon Hill in the field of government services. And I think we've used him to send out some communications to various legislators, and we will do that in the past. I hope in the coming year we can have a more coordinated effort with those who are experienced to work with Steve on that aspect in particular, to have more maybe more regular agenda items that we could keep track of, and maybe some regular communications with our delegation or other certain committees that maybe we want to stay in touch with.
He's very good. Billy Baker out of my office is very, very good.
Yeah.
TJ. And Steve Hulkster, Attorney Steve Roach, is very good on the nuts and bolts of the issue.
Correct.
and what buttons to be able to push in the State House there. So, any other questions or comments?
No, I mean, Eddie, just the vacancies, I know we need to get ahead of them, but we're working as quickly as we can, and we will.
Okay, I know you're getting ready for a DOJ meeting, so thank you very, very much.
Thank you for accommodating us.
Thank you.
Would you like to go back to the mayor's office?
Yeah, well, we'll go to my office and again, with my office, it's I'm deeply appreciative. They have been on the front lines of back office stuff with me since the beginning of this COVID-19. We never, like many other departments, ever shut down. We're basically, as you can see, TJ, it's salaries. My OTBS is really, we cut that to shreds on it. So they work very hard, and like me, they're on call 24/7. I think, we take on everything and anything with the assistance of all our departments, and that's about it.
Yeah, the only question that I think would be great for the public to know, if anyone is watching, is the addition of Talia.
Oh, yes, Attorney Talia G, who's done a wonderful job, very, very talented. She's our Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. But we're doing subsets of different things. She works very close to the Civilian Community Police Hearing Board, and she's also been my staff of my age. Many of them represent me with certain entities or certain initiatives we're doing, and she's also works with Timmy Sheen on the workforce development and diversity type aspects. But I can't say enough about my staff. They're there 24/7 for me, and They know I work hard, they work hard, and it's, again, it's pretty much, it's basic salary. My old TPS is really, it's not the days of the old mayor's office many, many years ago where old TPS would flow very freely. So that's what it is. It's bare bone, and we'll continue to go from there. Any other questions?
No, I mean, like you said, it's very well known GPS, general fund FTEs don't change, nothing really changes, pretty much status quo.
Thank you. Okay, who's on? Oh,
Gladys.
Well, let's go to elections, and Gladys, you and your team have been fantastic. You know, we had all these elections going on with COVID-19 and the early elections, the new mail-in voting on it. I can't say enough about you and your team. You've been here since day one, and I'm appreciative of, you know, jumping in there with City Clerk Stashina when we had to shut down for a little while. So you've been fantastic, and I appreciate that. So let me turn over to you, Gladys, for your presentation. I know there's some new changes, and we want to continue to get you updated. I know you pursue grants, but Commissioner Iola, please.
Sure. Good afternoon. Mayor, you hit some of the highlights about 2020 that we had to kind of overcome with the mail-in voting and running kind of a major presidential election during a pandemic. Going forward for this coming local election year, we're going to have to see how that, you know, rolls out in terms of the actual polling sites and hopefully keeping some of the precautions and safety measures we put into place. And those costs, if we can pursue grants, we definitely will. We were lucky to get a rather large grant that covered most of the election costs. And that included staffing, PPE, and just kind of the nuts and bolts elections expenditures. Going forward, we do have one vacancy that I'd like to mention and a possible second vacancy. And I'm working with our analyst, Chris, and also with HR to hopefully review our budget and our job descriptions, because I think part of what we're facing is we're the lowest paid office in terms of our front-facing staff. And part of that is, at least in City Hall. And part of what happens is, you know, their openings come up within the union, and, you know, I'm happy to have these people go and, you know, improve and get better, you know, employment within the city. But then we have to retrain, you know, staff every year and a half, every 2 years or so. So we're working on that currently. I wanted to mention some of the questions that you asked. Our biggest project, hopefully, that we can maybe sink our teeth into this year is going to be our voting equipment. So that was one of the questions you had asked. And our voting equipment at this point is close to 30 years old. It's still working. We're still being able to get it serviced. Our vendor provided us with a new quote this year. And for the, you know, all of the nuts and bolts and all of the voting equipment, including the modems, we're looking at about $465,000 for the voting equipment. And they're able to do it probably with a 60-day to 90-day lead time. So that's training our staff, training our poll workers, and making sure we're ready to go.
TJ and I have already been discussing this, Commissioner Oyola, because they'd be cost effective. The machines are 30 years, the vendor is still doing it, but there's a cost to that. And it might be a time where parts or technicians are going to be tough on that. So we're ready to do that. And that's a question I had there. You're quick about, I know you retrain, but you've also cross-trained. So we're looking to make that investment of about $500,000 to do that. TJ, I'm sure, has a question on how quickly can we obtain these?
Yeah, so let's have a conversation with the vendor to see how quickly we can turn around the, you know, procurement and the delivery of the machines and the training and implementation. I think this next election is a perfect election to do it on, you know, and try to make it so that I don't expect any kinks, but to really get trained up on the new equipment. We're certainly ready to pull the trigger when you are.
Great, we are. We've been waiting for years now at this point, so.
Gladys, how, I know you worked very hard, and I appreciate my office to get much more voter turnout. And we see that seemed obviously to happen was a presidential election, but you see, and then we have the COVID challenges too. And you've been very creative. Can you speak a little bit more about your ideas of getting more voter turnout? Again, we have to see what happens with this, the mail-in voting, but you know, we had a great, it was presidential election, don't get me wrong, but we did have a very strong turnout. And even in the primary, strong turnout.
I agree. I think last year was a good year for our office. I mean, early on in the pandemic, the governor declared elections as one of the essential offices. So we really didn't have that, you know, work from home mode that, you know, certain departments were able to get, you know. Part of it is because the equipment that we have is here in the office. We can't take it home with us. Laptops from the state are not existent. And so one of the things that we did was really switch from person to person, or that face-to-face voter outreach that we typically do when we go to the different parks and events, libraries, and did that all virtually by phone, by email. And it worked out well. Like you said, it was a presidential election year, so that definitely always drives higher voter turnout. But I think some of the things that we did last year, including the vote by mail, are things that we're hoping to include in every single election because it worked out well. I think there's an appetite for it from the voters. And I think it is something that going forward, people will want to keep doing.
Very good. I think the poll workers, I know you just got a bit of, with the COVID, we have some issues recruiting on that. I know you adjusted and really changed it a bit. How we do with poll workers?
So far, so good. We were able to get a new kind of crop of poll workers that volunteered last year due to the Secretary of State's help and putting things on their website to promote participation. And we had people from as far as Northampton volunteering to be poll workers. Some of them will stay, some of them will lose interest because it's not a presidential election year, but I think we're pretty well set. We're just going to have to work safe like we did this past year to make sure that the ones that do stay have, you know, all the PPE and the dividers that they need.
And just for the viewing public to know that many times our poll workers are very dedicated and many times they're senior citizens. And that really affected us with the COVID-19, obviously for public health and safety, for those volunteers, senior citizens and Gladys. So once we defeat this COVID-19, hopefully that'll change the landscape there too. But you ran the elections and there was really no glitches whatsoever. So,
well, this past year, I really wanted to take a second to give other departments a shout out because we really, what 2020 showed our department was collaborating with collectors, facilities, the police department, Molly Fogarty in the libraries was really essential in us being able to run the elections, like you said, pretty much glitch-free as far as an administrative standpoint.
we did the drop boxes. We had the drop boxes that were secured. We had special voting days. I remember being down here on a Saturday and the lines very organized coming, you know, and then early on it. So that's very good at. So finally, Gladys, I know you've been saying it for a number of years, we're going to be able to fulfill your dream of getting you new machine.
It'll be great.
I don't know if TJ had any questions.
No, but you covered all the ones that I've had. I know it's just been, it's always tough to do all the work in COVID, and we appreciate what you and the team have been able to accomplish during difficult times, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
I don't, any city councils have any questions? Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Oyola.
Other internal audit or city clerk and city council?
Why don't we go to internal audit? I see Young No is there. Young,
Yes. Good afternoon, Mayor.
good afternoon.
So my FY22 budget funds 3 full-time employees. I'm currently down 1 employee. I have a vacancy, which I expect to fill by the end of fiscal year 21. My OTPS is comprised mostly of external audit fees, which is non-discretionary. The city is required to have an annual audit of its financial statements by federal regulations. With respect to some of your questions, you had asked what audits did we audit in FY21? They included follow-up reviews at the Office of Procurement Controllers, the life insurance review at benefits. We did a bulk sticker trash review at DPW. We reviewed the bankable overtime and the career incentive, also known as QUIN programs at Springfield Police Department. We have a couple of audits in process. We're looking at the Big White gift card program at Springfield Public Schools and the GIC program administered by the Benefits Department. With respect to the FY22 audit plan, which I'll formally present to you next week, includes reviewing or auditing payroll, which comprises of looking at both the school department and the city, overtime, which also looks at the city and school department. We're going to review fleet maintenance at DPW, cybersecurity review at Springfield Police Department, and some follow-up reviews at various city departments. Now, do we choose audits at certain times for certain departments? We base our audits on a risk assessment. So we focus on those departments that have the most adverse impact on the city. And we do an annual audit plan every year to set forth our agenda for the upcoming year. And as I mentioned, we do follow-up reviews after 1 year when we do the audit, just to make sure that our recommendations have been implemented. And if not, we convey the status to the mayor and city council regarding the open recommendations. Now, you had also asked about the workflow and managing the department. I assign audits to every individual. We will meet weekly to go over our audit assignments, issues encountered, and the timing of their completion. I do exercise more supervision of less experienced staff. And I guess another thing I want to point out is that everyone, including myself, performs audits. So we all do audits in our department. Now, you had also asked about the benefits of an internal audit and also an external audit. So internal audits help departments achieve their mission. Specifically, internal audits identify deficiencies and the remediation, improving the effectiveness and the efficiency of a department. It also helps protect assets and reduce the possibility of fraud. It also ensures compliance with laws and regulations. And the primary benefit for an external audit is that it provides the investors and the public assurance over the accuracy of the city's financial statements. So you can be assured that the city's financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects.
John, can I just say too, and Cecilia, it's good to see you there too. I appreciate. Well, I think we're one of the few one of the few communities in the comp that do this. This is not a gotcha thing. This is proactive and not even troubleshoot, but proactive. So we make sure we're always looking at checks and balances on how departments can do things better. If something crops up, then you can go in and do that. So I believe we're one of the few cities that do this. And when we go outside, tell them powers, they come back. I know the report you present to me and they stated themselves, very, very well managed on the process and financials on it. And this is a good give and take. Many times it ends up helping departments. And so I want the public to know that. TJ, could you on that elaborate on that? Because I believe we're one of the few that do this.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know which ones, if it's in Boston, but I know there's not very the way Massachusetts works, it's a city auditor that does this auditor and comptroller functions. And then what we have is one that bifurcates the comptroller function and the audit function to have a director or a unit of internal audit that allows you guys to be independent of both the administration and the capital's office to do the job and to look at waste fund reviews and to help us fix our internal controls, fix our segregation of duties, and all those other little things that kind of crop up on running, a $1 billion organization. So I know you guys have had tremendous success in that role in the last few years, and we do appreciate it.
And the other thing too, for the viewing public, is that the appointment will come from CFO and myself, but the confirmation comes from the city council. And Young, No, and Cecilia report. They report to the city council also on the audit committee. So everybody's in tune. So this has been, it's always good when I do get those audit reports, that many a times there's not really any issues that happened, years ago have been corrected, or the process is much more fluid and better on it. So I appreciate that, but I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. I also want to mention that, yes, the city does operate very much like a large Fortune 500 company, in that its internal department is an independent body. So just wanted to circle back to your last question with respect to whether the school department pays their fair portion of the external audit fees. So as I may have mentioned, the school's portion of the external audit fees is built into the indirect rate under the net school spending. So that indirect rate increases every year, yet our external audit fees have remained flat over the past couple of years. The school department also pays for student activity audit performed by external auditors. They also pay for the end of year report. What we do also as a department is we try to allocate as much as possible the eligible portion of the external audit fees that pertain to federal grants. And we do that annually, and we get a time study prepared by external auditors for justification to allocate such charges. And that's pretty much it for your questions. Any additional questions that I could entertain?
You're going to fill that position, right?
Excuse me?
You need to fill the position.
Oh, yes. I expect to fill that vacant position by the end of fiscal year 21, by the end of June.
Because again, when I say the law department corporate counsel, it's Fortune 500, you're not teaming with 10,000 employees there too. So we got to make sure that we stay up to par there. TJ, any other questions?
No, just good luck filling your vacancies. I know it's been a challenge across the city based upon the economy as of right now. So hopefully you guys will get some qualified candidates to apply when you guys post it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Young. Thank you, Cecilia. Tashina Clerk, Attorney Tashina Davis is on, and we have the City Council and Clerk's office. Tashina, how you feeling, first of all? Everybody's feeling okay now?
Yes, everyone's fine. We still have our one office member out of the office, but we're checking on her every other day. She seems to be doing better and better, so it's great news.
So I was asking for again, and I appreciate, I know it's been with the COVID-19 a little bit of a challenge, but I know we were very busy city clerk's office, and whether online or appointments, and now your timing, you're able to take some walk-ins, within reason on it. I appreciate that. Why don't we, on the city, why don't we go to the city council? It's pretty much like my office. That's predominantly city council salaries. Am I correct, TJ, on that?
Exactly.
Okay. So that stems down. Unless there's anything you want to add, Clerk Davis, Attorney Davis, on city council?
No, I'd just like to say, I'd like to thank Focus Springfield. They've helped the office tremendously through this trying year. when all of the meetings transferred to Zoom, there wasn't as many subcommittee meetings at the outset because we were still figuring out a process for it, a system for it. Since all the councilors are now comfortable with the Zoom, we've had an uptick in subcommittee meetings, which is great for the council, great for the city. But we are down one staff member. When you took Mr. Click, the wonderful Mr. Click, we still have one open position for city council staff. So I'm going to work with, of course, President Williams on that to see if we can fill that position. But everything else for city council is pretty standard.
TJ, any questions on city council?
No, the big question was gonna be exactly that, the vacancy and the workload, given that everything is Zoom as of now, and seems to be heading to or staying Zoom until September. Making sure that you guys have enough adequate employees to handle the workload.
Right, I think one additional, as they've typically had 3, I think the one additional is definitely necessary. They had almost every single subcommittee meet within the past 2 weeks. So an additional staff member would be great to go back to 3.
Okay, great. Tashina, how about clerks? So let's present on clerks, please.
So it's no secret that our office is facing challenges right now. All offices are, but because we are a public-facing office, there's risks involved in the daily work. Because my staff is a moving office. We're not stationary. We use the same printers, the same computers, the same things like that. When our office is hit with one of our members having COVID-19, it shuts our whole office down. That's happened twice in the past 3 months, and that puts us way behind on work, way behind on helping the public. It's a big issue. Well, it has been a big issue. I actually wanted to thank Election Commissioner Gladys Oyola. She helped us out last week when our office was shut down. That being said, we're doing the best we can. The real IDs have definitely increased the amount of birth certificates necessary because the state is requiring additional information for people to get their driver's license. It's made for an increase in our office. So we're just trying to keep up with everything, keep up with all the public, help them out as much as we can. With staff members being out, it makes it a little bit more difficult, but we're doing the best we can. The ladies are doing actually a great job.
And Tashina, on the public records, that seems to be going better now that the assistant, the administrative assistant's helping out there with that.
It should be.
Yes. Her name is Monique Davis. She's been absolutely wonderful. She's helping Andrea. She's helping myself. So that was wonderful, and that's what we needed. They're catching up. We have much less of a backlog. We have an increase in public records requests since the last fiscal year.
Tremendous, I know, with the new law.
But Monique is helping to keep up with everything, so that's been great.
Okay, and then we talked already about how the pandemic has affected the work
Right.
on that, and then I know we have a digital grant and also software, and then I might want to ask you on the revenue trends depending on what we've got for, but how about on the digital grant, how do we stand on progress on that?
So that is actually wonderful. I'd like to thank Melanie and Lauren Stabilo for their help with that grant. We were offered an extension to mid-May, which was great because we needed it. As we stand right now, ProScan was selected. They've taken a couple decades of city council records to have scanned for us, so we're right on track. And we're actually due for an update, I believe, late next next week. So we're moving forward and it's going great.
Software, any that you need at all, or stuff that been a benefit?
So, I'll jump in on that one. One thing we've been talking about is using a citywide credit card system.
Okay.
I know Chris Caputo and the Treasurer's Department, use the City Hall system, and I know there's a few others. I don't know if you have any thoughts on helping us convert to a single system so they can use one card to pay for all fees, fines, bills, or anything else they may incur.
That would be wonderful. It's so broken up right now because there's so many departments and there's so many different things people could be paying. A streamlined system would definitely help our office as well.
So that means if somebody, the birth certificate, death certificate, but static across the board, be the same thing for each department.
You know, dog, pay a bill, pay a trash fee.
That's awesome.
For a birth certificate and make sure it's all done, and then we just figure out the logistics of whether we mail it out or they come in and present it and we give it to them. But those are just logistics.
How are we gonna do it, Tashina? I know you're still busy there. Revenue aspects for the upcoming year, you think with generating as far as revenue aspects. So has there been a decline a bit? I know in some we've seen more traffic, but your thoughts on that?
Well, I definitely expect revenue to increase as we move closer to stability as far as the virus. I think that it definitely impacted revenue as we were only allowed to let so many people in the building at a time. It definitely restricted the amount of revenue we could collect, even though the Real ID system being implemented increased the amount of people we need to help. I think that as we move, like I said, as we move more towards stability, that revenue will go up. But the appointment system definitely does impact how much revenue we can collect, but to keep everyone safe, it's been upheld. We've actually been allowing people to walk in when they're already here. So that will help increase revenue as well, because if they're already downtown, we should help them if they come into the building.
And I have to say, with all the back office departments or the front facing departments, we never shut City Hall down. We did keep it open via appointment, and with some of treasurer collectors, clerks, but the time was right, and we didn't go over the number that we're allowed in City Hall to take people in, especially for emergency purposes. So I know the cities and towns didn't do that. Some city halls and town halls are still closed right now, and I still think some closed going into September or October. So we tried to be respectful, customer service wise to our constituents, the residents and business people. That's what I had. Do you have any other questions?
No, you covered everything. Shannon, we appreciate everything. If you need anything, let us know.
I appreciate everything. Thank you, guys. I'd also actually like to send a shout out to my staff. They've, like you said, Mr. Mayor, City Hall never completely shut down. We moved to an appointment schedule, and the women that come into my office have been working diligently every day. I'd like to say I appreciate them for all their help too.
Thank you, and we do too. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. That's it for today. A short, we'll be back tomorrow. The saga will continue, so I appreciate everybody's efforts. Have a great day. Good health.